This episode of Oh Brother is brought to you in conjunction with Forum Library Creative Space. Funded by the Arts Council, the new creative space at Wythenshawe Forum Library is for the community, by the community. Local CICs, charities or non-profit organisations get free use of the spaces, so making music, podcasts or performance are now on the doorstep of Wythenshawe residents. Whether you're an artist, musician, educator or entrepreneur, Creative Space is here to help your ideas come to life. Ready to create? Email creativespace@manchester.gov.uk to find out more information. Hello and welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast about Salford/Manchester's legendary musical institution, The Fall. Each week we invite along a guest to discuss their memories and relationship with the group and anything else we care to talk about. For this episode we welcomed along podcaster, comedian, actor and broadcaster and noted Fall fan, Elis James, for a fantastic chat that, although it's one of our longer episodes, felt like 5 minutes. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, welcome to the latest edition of Oh Brother with me, Paul Hanley.
And me, Steve Hanley.
Yeah, how are you, Steve? All right?
I'm okay, yeah.
Good, yeah?
I'm okay.
Keeping busy?
Very. But you don't want to hear about that.
Okay, so we're going to have to be very gentle today because we've got someone on today who's not really used to the podcast format. So we'll have to talk in baby steps at first. But
He's just been teaching us.
Yeah. So without further ado, not that there was much to do, Mr. Elis James, how are you, sir?
Hello.
Very good, and I'm very pleased to be on the podcast. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honour, an absolute honour. So you were mentioned before we started about the tour, so that was Welsh stand-up.
Yeah, so Welsh is my first language, so I started doing stand-up in English because that's where the gigs were when I was about 24, 25, and I've been doing it about 10 years. And S4C, the Welsh Language Channel 4, out the blue, about 10 years, in 2015 actually, said, would you want to do a show for us in Welsh? And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, I thought I'll give that a go. So I gave it a go. And initially I tried to translate old English stand-up into Welsh, which was basically impossible.
All right.
It's not a silly question. Why?
Because there's a variety of reasons. It was a little bit of muscle memory.
Yeah.
So it's once you've done it sort of in one language, I found it quite hard to do it in another language, and also because on a more sort of technical point of view, often the nouns and adjectives are in different places in Welsh and English.
Okay.
So the funny word was coming in the middle of the sentence, not at the end of the sentence.
Ah, wow.
So it was kind of getting in the way of punchlines. And even if it wasn't a normal joke or a sort of traditional joke, even if it was funny because, say, in English, there were lots of, hard consonants that make something a little bit more impactful. If it's not the case in Welsh, then suddenly you're just talking. So I gave that a go.
Always a bad point, that in a comedy sketch.
Yeah. I just felt like I was giving a sort of TED talk. And then I realised, because I spoke Welsh at home, and I went to a Welsh language sort of Sunday school and chapel and Welsh language school. I had all these cultural references that I'd never been able to talk about when I was doing gigs, even in English in Wales, because there was culturally is a difference. So I thought, well, I've got all these experiences that I can talk about that I've never been able to talk about in the past. So my stuff, especially my earlier stuff when I was doing Edinburgh shows in English, was often quite autobiographical. Like the first show, I was only in my late 20s with a lot of childhood stuff in there. There was all this childhood stuff I never got round to talking about. So I thought, well, I'll just write about that. And that seemed to go all right. And it seemed to resonate with people because I had quite a sort of typical upbringing, I would say.
Right.
And then I got it was such an edifying experience. I did one in 2015, then I did another one in 2017, then another one in 2019. I would have done one in 2021, but COVID got in the way.
Yeah, of everything.
Of everything, yeah. So then I just got round to it this year. So I recorded it last week. So it was recorded in the theatre in my hometown. And I did 2 shows, and it'll be going on the telly over Christmas.
Okay.
But the other thing, because I started off this call by apologising to you because you've been trying to get me on the podcast via Mark Riley, and my admin and the response times to your emails was simply not good enough. And
I think you might be surprised to find that you are certainly by no means the worst.
Well, that makes me feel very good. I'm thrilled to bits with that. So then, because
But they're in Welsh, though, the emails.
Yeah. But the complicating factor is if you were doing, say, I don't know, a show in English that was going to go on Netflix or something, you would do loads and loads of previews, 30 previews for Edinburgh, then you do a full run at Edinburgh, and then you tour it all over Britain and maybe Ireland and maybe Australia or New Zealand or wherever. And then you would want to do the record at the end so the show is locked in. Whereas, because obviously I did do 4 gigs in London, actually, because there's lots of Welsh speakers living in London, but you can only practice it in Wales. You can only run it in Wales, really.
Patagonia, you could nip there.
I could have done, and I did do Edinburgh. I did the Edinburgh Festival in 2019, but I got married this August, so I couldn't go up to Edinburgh because we were still organising the wedding.
Congratulations, yes.
Thank you very much. So when I got round to recording it, the ending had never actually worked. So the nerves are mad. But at least if you do it in English one, you think to yourself, all right, then, well, I know this works, and fingers crossed I perform it properly on the night and there's a good crowd and all that kind of stuff. But with this one, I recorded it on the Saturday. The preview on the Thursday night was nothing short of a disaster.
Well, bad sound check, good gig. That's
And then I talked to a friend of mine on Friday morning, and she said, well, I think you should do that bit there and that bit there, and then split those 2 bits and then put that bit in the middle. And I thought, that makes sense to me. So I tried it on the Friday, and it was pretty good. And then on the Saturday, I think it must have been adrenaline. It just really clicked at the 6 p.m. show, and then the 8 p.m. show, it was good as well. So fingers crossed it will turn out all right. But so that's why I was my admin was shoddy. I feel very bad about that.
Please don't give it another thought. Everyone, we're talking about people who've been in the fall here, and people admin is not the top of the area.
Well, I read Renegade, Mark's book.
Yeah,
and it's the only book ever that I have finished and then immediately started reading again.
Yeah.
I got to the last page. I thought So I started reading on the Monday. I could not put it down, right? So I finished it on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
I read it again by the Friday.
But it's still not a book by the time you've read it twice, though, is it?
Yeah.
Word, it's not a book.
But what one of the many things I loved about it, I loved how funny it was, and I find him absolutely fascinating. Was he'd worked as a shipping clerk, hadn't he, in Salford Docks?
Yeah.
And he had quite a sort of, obviously you worked with him, so you'll know better than me, but he had quite a sort of old school administrative attitude to getting stuff done.
Running a band, I'd say. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think he saw any difference between a band and an office, basically, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that is fantastic. And I was talking about, Mark, I went for a Chinese with my kids on last night, and a friend of mine came, and he's chucking out some stuff, right? And he's finding it quite difficult. And I said, well, Mark E. Smith, The Fall, used to have a massive clear out every 2 years, because he thought that like keeping older stuff stopped him from being creative. And you're a creative bloke, so you just need to get rid of all of it. Mark E. Smith style, and I can't do that because I've got.
That's good advice for other people.
Like my house is I'm a holder.
Going any further, was this the Hawaiian themed Chinese restaurant? Was it by any chance?
No, it wasn't. No, because it's sadly no longer there. No, we were in a Chinese restaurant.
So that Hawaiian themed Chinese restaurant. So they don't sell any Hawaiian food. It's Chinese restaurant, but Hawaiian themed. Brilliant. It's
Hawaiian themed, and the sink for the toilet looked like a rock pool. It was a very odd place. It was in Cardiff on City Road, and there was an open mic gig there when I was starting out, and you got paid in Chinese.
Oh, right.
So you wouldn't, because obviously all open spots tend to be quite skint. So you were you wouldn't eat during the day. You'd do the gig incredibly hungry, and then you'd sort of fill your boots after the show.
Fantastic. What a great working model that was.
Yeah.
It went bust.
Keep them hungry, yeah.
So the first thing we normally ask on these podcasts is what your first encounter was with The Fall, so either on record or live.
I started reading the music press when I was about 15. So I'm 44, so it would have been about 95. And in 1995, 96, when I was reading The Enemy and all that kind of stuff and The Melody Maker, there was probably a reference to The Fall in the paper once a week.
Yeah.
And not just like a review. I mean, they would just be referenced in terms of other bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it would just be like a little throwaway thing like, oh, that's like something Mark from Marky Smith of The Fall would do. And what I loved about the music press was that they always assumed that you knew exactly what the journalists knew.
Yeah.
So there was never any concession to the fact that I might be 15 and reading these papers for the first time and not having heard a Fall record. And then my favourite band of all time are Gorky's I Got It Monkey. And they went to my school. They were in sixth form when I was in the first year. And I found Euros Childs, who's now in Teenage Fan Club, actually. I found his GCSE art coursework in the art room. And he'd written The Fall in loads of different fonts on the cover of the art book. So I remember thinking, I've got to get into this band.
Yeah.
The
portents were there, weren't they?
They did play with us a few times.
Did they?
They did. They supported us in Brixton, yeah.
Oh, wow. Because I remember I used to go to the same record shop that they used to go to, and I remember I was quite starstruck by the Gorkies. And I remember saying, asking Una, who ran Slip Discs records shop in Carmarthen Market, I said, what were they into? And she said, oh, they really like The Fall. And I remember thinking, like, I've got to get into this band. But there was just so much of it.
Yeah. It's a bit
daunting. Like, well, where do you start? And the thing with the mid-90s, which to someone like my daughter who's 10, this just sounds crazy. A CD was like $12.99.
Yeah. A lot of money.
So you think, well, I mean, I don't know how many albums it would have been, but it'd been in the sort of 20s.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, so where do I start with? The first one? The latest one? Where do I go? So I don't think I'd heard very much. And then it was probably, and then I got a girlfriend who was really into like post-punk stuff. And she made me a compilation that had Cruises Creek on it. And I was like, well, this is sensational. And then I bought, and then I remember Theme from Sparta FC, number 2, the one on Football Focus.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, well, that's the best song I've ever heard in my life. Right?
Brilliant song,
This is great. And I remember buying 50,000 Fall Fans Can't Be Wrong and loving the idea of it. Because isn't that based on the fact that all Fall records would sell about 50,000 copies?
Well, I know. I think it's the Elvis. There's an Elvis album called 50 Million Elvis Fans Can't Be Wrong with the same cover. So,
oh yeah, that's it. Because
the gold lame suit. So.
Yeah, and I just loved that record, and I played it to death. And then around that, and then I remember I saw The Fall live at Reading in about 2006, and then I had quite an archetypal Fall experience actually, right? Because I saw them and they were great.
Well, that's maybe not archetypal.
Well, no. What happened next is archetypal. And then I was in a band, right?
Yeah.
And we were, I mean, if you had to define us, we were quite a post-punky sort of group.
This would be Heck.
Yeah. And one of the promoters in Cardiff knew how much we all loved The Fall, in particular Gemma, the singer, who'd been in a really great band called Sammo Hung, actually, who made a brilliant album. And he knew that Gemma in particular was obsessed with The Fall. So he said, listen, I'm putting a Fall show on at the Point in Cardiff, and I'd like you to be the support actress. So we were just, I mean, it felt like I'd won the Champions League. We were so pleased. So we turn up for the sound check, would have been at about, 5:05, and the bands were already there. And I walked in, I thought, hang on, I saw them 9 months ago at Reading. I don't remember them looking anything like this.
It's quite a turbulent time then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a bit of a through flow then.
Yeah, I remember thinking, that's not what the guitarist, is that what the guitarist looked like? God, he's lost weight or whatever, or he's grown a beard or something. It was really weird, right? So I went into the dressing room and they were all in there. And they were all speaking with American accents. And I said, oh, hi, I'm Elis. I'm the guitarist in the support band, Heck. And they went, oh, nice to meet you. And they were really nice, right? And I said, so what? I said, I saw you in Reading. And they went, that wasn't us.
That'll be Tim Presley. We had him on not so long ago. Really?
Yeah.
Big guy, wasn't he? Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, right. So what happened then?" And he went, "Apparently, I don't actually know the ins and outs of this. With the Reading band that I'd seen, which would have been
We know the ins and outs.
Yeah,
it would have been about 2007-ish.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
it's Steve Trafford.
Steve
wasn't it?
Trafford, yeah.
Yeah, on bass.
He was driving through San Francisco, like California, in a van, Mark, and just went, right, get out, you're all sacked, is what I got told. He sacked them, and then he had to go to California. He had to go to San Francisco, I think, and say, right, I need a band. That was what the story I was told. Is that?
Well, how can one put this diplomatically? That's a load of horseshit.
Is it?
Yeah.
So what happened then?
They left. I mean, between gigs, they were that pissed off with the way it was going. They just left overnight and then left him with no band, basically. So it was just him and Elaine.
Right. And then he drove to, was it San Francisco, to find a new group?
The dudes, yeah.
And the record label sorted him out a band.
Right. Because they were all thrilled to be in the fall.
Yeah. They were a great band, them as well.
They were a good band. I remember talking to him. I can't remember which one it was. And he said, "Oh, we were big fans. We see him as a sort of English beefheart.
Yeah.
So we can't believe we're playing with him." And I was like, "That's great." And then this is the this is another archetypal fall moment. It's now like 6:30.
Yeah.
I said, "Where is he?" And they went, "He's in Manchester."
No.
Yeah. And we were like, right. And when they told the promoter that,
you'd have to do a long set, I think.
John, he sort of went white. So we were meant to go on at 8. And we ended up going on at 9. They said, "Are you fine to go on at 9?" We were like, "Yeah, of course." And by 9 o'clock, the room was full. So we were playing. The gig was a sellout. So it was a great gig for us because it was people who, who should have been on the same sort of wavelength. But obviously, you're a support band, so you're hoping it goes well.
Yeah.
And the room was full. So you weren't, performing to a lot of people who were just coming in and buying pints. Yeah. And so the gig, I seem to remember the gig going quite well. And then he still wasn't there. I don't know how I remember talking to John, the promoter, and he was like, "Yeah, he's on the way. So we must have been done by about 9:30. And then there was a big old pause. And then I think he ended up playing like a short film or something.
All right.
Trying to play for time because Mark still hadn't arrived.
Brilliant. I mean, was there mobile phones then? I presume there was.
There was. I don't think he was. He must have said, "I'm en route." And then when they played the short film, a few people started booing, and then he just turned up.
Brilliant.
So they were on late, but he did arrive. And I was with my friend Ian, and he was a lovely bloke, Ian. And he was 16 in 1976. He was like the perfect age for punk, right? And he'd grown up in a little mining sort of valleys town where it was all like sort of metal and sort of rock music, like bands like Nazareth and stuff like that. And he was into sort of punk music. And he used to say, I fought the punk wars. You don't know what it was like. 1976, I was the only one with short hair. I was getting my bloody head kicked in, fighting the punk wars, getting beaten up by Rush fans and all that kind of stuff. And he loved post-punk in particular, and he loved The Fall. And there was this weird blind spot where he'd met Mark, but he'd never seen them live, I think.
All right.
And he was just loving it. And then Mark was doing the whole, turning the amps down and all that kind of stuff. And I remember Ian turned to me and said, "This is either the best or the worst thing I've ever seen ever."
Yeah.
But I'm loving it. It was really, and I just thought this is as 4 years experience.
It's pretty good. That's pretty
as you can get. And I never got to meet him. I was sort of, I was in a corridor and he was in the dressing room, and I considered knocking on the door and saying hello, but I thought he's just going to think I'm a wanker, so I'm not going to bother. I've had a chat with the band, and I can say I've supported them.
It is a risk. That would have been a risk.
It would have, yeah. And I was.
I mean, you could have got either, couldn't you? You could have been.
Yeah, you could have.
There's a lot of people.
He could have been come in and have a drink, or he could have. Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there. He was always very nice to me, type people. Whenever any that Fall comes out.
And I met Johnny Marr once, and I got so starstruck that I made a total fool of myself, and I regret it.
Are you going to expand on that, or are we going to just throw it over?
That same girlfriend was DJing in Cardiff, at an indie club called Club Iverbach.
Right there.
And it was absolutely. I remember pavement.
I have to admit at this point, I don't think we ever pronounced it anything like that.
You probably called it Welsh Club or Club.
Club for back. I thought. Well,
yeah.
I knew that was
Club Iverbach, Little Ivers Club, right? And so, Johnny Marr had played in Cardiff with, I think it must have been the Cribs.
Yeah.
And he'd gone for a drink in Welsh Club for, just to unwind after the show. And obviously he was getting loads of hassle because he'd walked into an indie club and it's Johnny Marr.
Yeah.
So he was sort of seeking solace in the DJ booth. And Gemma texted me and said, "You'll never fucking guess."
It's not really a good place to hide, really.
Who is standing next to me?
To avoid conversation, I suppose.
Yeah.
It is Johnny Marr.
Yeah.
And I've told him that you're a big fan, and I've told him you like football, and that you play the guitar, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to meet Elis," right? And I thought I will mess this up, so I turned my phone off and thought, right, I'm not doing it. Now the next day was in the very early days of Facebook. The next day my Facebook was just full of people I knew with having selfies with Johnny Marr and sharing their Johnny Marr stories, and I was immensely jealous. So fast forward about 10 years, I was on Radio X, and Johnny had a record out, and he was doing a Q&A with John Kennedy, and the head of music, a guy called Mike Walsh, said to me, he said, "Listen, Johnny's doing a Q&A on Friday night or whatever. I know that you're a big fan, that you never got to meet him that time. If you want, he'll be in the dressing room, just be me, you and him. If you fancy it, he's a really approachable, really lovely bloke. At the offer's there, right?" I thought, you know what? I'm fucking 38.
Yeah, go for it.
Come on.
Yeah.
I've been around a bit. I've done. I can meet people. So I went to the I went to the show, and I hadn't spoken for about 2.5 hours because I'd gone on my own. And at the end, Mike sort of signaled to me to go into the dressing room. And as I walked in, my heart started racing and I started to get really, really nervous. And I thought, just play it safe, like 4-4-2, just go in, say, "Well done, love the show, my name's Elis, nice to meet you, get yourself in, then fuck off," right? So I walked in, and Mike went, "Johnny, this is Elis, he presents on Radio X 1 till 4 with his friend, the comedian John Robbins." And Johnny went, "Oh, all right, man, nice to meet you." And my voice must have constricted.
I was just about to say, well, let's bookmark that because that was a very good impression.
Oh, yeah, nice one, yeah. And my voice went, my throat started to constrict with nerves, right? So he went, "Oh, yeah, nice, yeah, funky Spurs, Spartan record." And I went, "Oh, no problem, it's honestly, it's a pleasure. I mean, the singles are brilliant, and I've had the honour of listening to it." I was thinking to myself, "Come on, man, what is happening here?" So I got to the end of that sentence, and I said, "Pardon me," and I went to the corner and I cleared my throat, right? So I'm coughing away. I thought, that's bound to have done it. So I went back, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, so Mike tells me you're going on tour." And I was like, yeah, doing the Salford Lowry. And I was thinking, come on, what is... Jesus! "Yeah, we'll be doing Shepherd's Bush Empire and then another couple of nights at the Kentish Town Forum." And I'm like, come on, man.
He would have never picked up on that.
He wouldn't have seen
it. He was so interested, right? He was so interested. And I'm thinking, come on. So I had another big old cough, right? And then it came out and it was still high. and then a presenter called Dan O'Connell comes over, and Johnny recognised one of his tattoos, right? Now, I could talk about football, I could talk about music, I could talk about most things. The one thing I've got a total blind spot on is tattoos. I don't know anything about tattoos.
I mean, who could give you a 15-minute riff on tattoos? I mean, it's not.
But like Johnny was like, yeah, sure. "Oh, where'd you get your tattoo?" And that looks like it was done at some place on the Strip. And Dan was like, "Yeah, I was in LA and I got it done there, and I got this one as well." And they were talking about tattoos. So now, not only has my voice gone high, I need my my voice to go normal again, and B, where I'm on very uneven ground conversationally, right? So I'm desperate. I've now had a big old cough, and I'm confident-ish it's gone back to normal.
Back to music, talking about music.
Yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, I got this one when I was in New York, and I was like, did it hurt then? That big one? I'm like, come on.
I'm feeling for you there.
It was. I'm now sweating. So I went to the toilet and I had a big. I was drinking into the tap. That's always a bad sign when someone's drinking from the tap in a public toilet. And I'm coughing, and I went back in and it was still high. And I thought I'm just going to have to call it quits here. So I asked for a selfie, which I can't look at because it just reminds me of such an embarrassing moment. And then I left, and I thought, okay, well you have met footballers who you really admire, and that's gone okay, and you've met comedians you really admire, and largely that has gone okay, but there must be something about musicians. 'Cause I remember when I met Griff Rhys, I was a bit of a.
Oh no!
I've now got to meet him a few times, and we've done a few things together. And so now I'm all right when I'm with Griff, but for the first time I just wasn't myself.
So is there a level of admiration that it kicks in it? So
the big one would be Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And I would have to take that opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I know that I would get that one wrong. But yeah. I'd have to take that one on the chin.
He must be used to that. He must be people losing their ass every time they go in a room with him.
That's what you'd think. Yeah. You don't want you're not going to be at the top of the list, because I'm not going to soil myself for anything. Not
this time. Yeah, he must be top of the list for a lot of people.
Yeah, good conversations.
Yeah, but I mean, Johnny Marr's are different. But he's people. Obviously Paul McCartney, but people really like the Smiths, don't they? They do get a bit silly about the Smiths sometimes.
Yeah, and also
accepted, obviously.
The thing with Johnny Marr,
Johnny fucking Marr, to give him his
Johnny fucking Marr, because he's still making great records, and he still looks great, and his interviews are brilliant. He hasn't done anything to sort of diminish his legacy. Like he hasn't been on anything crap. He just seems to sort of. I would say this about Griff Rhys, actually. Like Griff's solo records are brilliant. The Super Furry Animals are brilliant. He's never done anything bad. Like even Far Coffee Pow, which was the Welsh language band he was in before the Furries. That's really, those records are over. Some of them are 35 years old, and they're still really, really good.
Yeah,
and he's just one of those people. And Johnny's absolutely a great example of this, where there is no like dodgy period,
right?
And Paul made some stuff that wouldn't go to the top of my list.
Yes,
but at his best,
the Broad Street is not top of my list when I'm compiling Paul McCartney.
Yeah, that was the film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a really, really odd film. That I don't know what.
Well, I was in a sitcom, and one of the cameramen had worked on that.
Wow!
And he said, and I'm like a big Beatles guy. And so if anyone's had any link with any of them, I sort of immediately become sort of like proxy starstruck.
Yeah.
And the thing with Paul, he always strikes me as being, I've not met him obviously, but I've been seeing lots of his interviews and having read his interviews and read his books and all that. Considering he's been so famous for so long, he seems to be quite a normal bloke.
Yeah. He does, yeah.
I mean, it's all relative, isn't it, I suppose? But he is about as normal as you could ever possibly be, given what he's been through.
Absolutely, yeah. But he has got to do what he's wanted for 60 years.
Yeah.
And I think what this guy told me was that with the film, he would often go in and there wouldn't really be a plan.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, so, and he'd be like, yeah, we'll just, it'll be great. And costume are like, but what is it?
The Mystery Tour's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got a quarter of an idea for film here. Let's make a film.
Yeah, like the scene where John is sort of putting the spaghetti onto a plate with a spade.
Yeah.
That was a dream he'd had the night before.
Yeah.
And they were like, fine, let's film it.
I mean, I think it stands up a bit better than you're led to believe, Magical Mystery Tour. If you watch it again, I watched it. It was on TV like 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad as I was led to believe.
Well, hilariously, I think when the premiere was on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
In the sort of what became the Morecambe and Wise slot.
Yeah, Mike Garwood. Yeah.
And obviously,
wasn't it?
You tend to want to put something quite mainstream in that slot on Christmas Day when everyone is watching telly.
Yeah.
Apart from the oddballs who've gone for a walk.
No, just them. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the Beatles probably were then, but like Paul McCartney, it's very difficult to say no to, isn't it? I think when at that point they were basically, we can do anything we want, can't we?
Yeah. And I don't.
Of the time.
And I don't think they. I don't know what channel it was on, but I don't think they knew what they were buying. They just thought, well, this is the Beatles, so millions will watch it.
Yeah, but like I say, nobody had colour TVs. It was because it was on BBC Two. And
of course, yes.
You can't imagine that looks great in black and white.
No, that's a very good point, actually. Yeah. It must have, And by that point, the album, the sort of accompanying album is brilliant. And one of my favourite Beatles albums.
It was an EP, wasn't it, at first?
Yeah, and then they sort of filled it out, and
but this is turning into a Beatles podcast.
Sorry,
that's absolutely fine by me.
Because I lived the big midweek as well.
Oh, you don't have to.
No, but like what I loved about it,
go from the Beatles to the
is that it's
ridiculous.
It's a document of the time. I was doing a gig with Stuart Lee actually, and whenever I do gigs with Stuart, we chat about the Fall. And he'd read, but he'd read the big midweek before I had. I bought it, but I hadn't got round to reading it. And he said it is a great document of the time.
Yeah,
what being in a band was, because obviously, I'm well out of touch now, but I don't think being in a band now is anything like it was.
No, it's
then.
I don't think you get away now with certain ways of doing things in bands because they weren't conducive.
Well, you definitely wouldn't get away with should have been going on at 10 o'clock at night and going on at 11:30. No, any of that. Or people waiting around, or
I think as well. You just
and doing pretty much doing a different set every night, and
Yeah, well, it's like when I was last in a band, which is now, what year is it? Coming up for 20 years ago. It was right at the start of the MySpace thing.
Yeah.
And when someone explained what MySpace was to me, I thought, well, this is brilliant. And then loads of people hear the demo, and we'll move on from there. But then you go onto MySpace and realise that there's 750 million demos.
Yes.
You think, oh shit.
Yeah. The gatekeepers have gone, haven't they? That's the thing.
Yeah. Be like, oh right, okay. Well, how do I make my one stand out? Ahead of the other 750 million, because that seemed quite overwhelming.
Yes.
And the Arctic Monkeys had done it, didn't they? Because they were like selling out really massive gigs without a record deal through MySpace. They'd become this sort of Sheffield phenomenon.
But there's not many, though, is there? I don't think.
I don't know. I think everybody does it now, don't they? But like you say, how do you pick out the good stuff? That was one of the reasons why the music press was great.
Absolutely.
They could say that these are the bands to look out for or whatever.
Yeah,
well, they might not be right, but it's just a way of just sorting through the detritus, isn't it?
Well, it was the music press, and it was Peel and the Evening Session. So I was exposed to so many great stuff from that, and at least then you've heard it.
Yes,
because with the Smiths, my first Smiths album was Rank, the live album. Yeah. Because I was in a record fair in St. Peter's Hall in Carmarthen when I was about 15 or 16. And that was being sold for £5. And I thought, well, I have got a £5. And I've read so much about the Smiths that is utterly glowing.
Yes.
I thought, surely I'm going to like this. They split up in 1987. They're still getting written about every week.
Yeah,
I bought the album and I loved it, and I thought, okay, good. Now I'm in, and now I can buy other stuff, and feel
it's quite
fairly.
A manageable catalogue, isn't it? Certainly compared to the Fall, the Smiths, you can do it.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
and people like different periods of the Fall as well.
But that's the thing you were talking about before about Johnny Marr. He never did anything. He never did any bad periods. The Fall's kind of different in that the bad periods are kind of part of the appeal, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because It's quite exciting watching someone you really admire give something new a go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a comedian called Stuart Goldsmith, who's a friend of mine, and he does a podcast called the Comedian's Comedian Podcast, where he talks to comics about their process and how they write jokes and how they write shows and how they, put shows together. And before the 2019 Welsh language show I was running out of previews, and the problem I had was I just couldn't seem to learn it. So I would go on stage without notes, and then I would always forget these big chunks. And then I would come off and I look at my watch and I'd only done 44 minutes. I think, hang on, that's a bit. And I think, oh yeah, that bit, damn, right. Obviously, you don't want to do that on the night. So I was trying to sort of revise it like it was my GCSEs.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Stu, I'm at a wedding, I said, I'm bloody recording it in a fortnight. I just can't learn it. And I've only got like 4 gigs left or whatever. And he said, no, because he'd just done a podcast with, he'd just done a Comedian's Comedian episode with some American comic who does a lot of improvised stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't remember what it was, but he was like, I was talking to so-and-so. And he was saying that at his best, he is at his best at the moment, just before you pull the cord on the parachute.
Right.
So you want to go on stage and just at the feeling that you're about to pull the cord on the parachute, so there's an element of risk. Yes. I was like, yeah, but I don't know it, so I don't know if the parachute's there or not.
Oh my God, it's a rucksack.
I sort of want it to be a parachute and not an empty rucksack.
Yeah. Well, we have this thing. I have this thing, but at the best time when you've got songs in a set is the bit between where you don't know them at all and the bit where you know them backwards. That's
yes,
the area.
Yes.
I think
so. You've got to be totally in the room.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you drink much before doing gigs?
We did in the fall. Well, I was a bit young when I first joined the fall. I was 16, so I used to drink milk before because I just couldn't handle drinking
milk.
Yeah, you used to have it on draft. You used to have it on draft in pubs in those days. It was great. Yeah.
Did you?
Someone found a set list and they put it up on something, and it was we found this fall set. Not set list. Rider. Found this fall rider from what we don't know what year it is, and it was on, and it was 4 pints of full fat milk. And I said, well, I know when that is. That was 1981 because I was still getting milk on the rider then. Nobody else in the history of the fall ever got milk on the rider, but
that is
depressing.
Fantastic.
Remember Kane getting you Lucozade.
Lucozade as well was the other one, yeah. But you go a bit bonkers if you have too much Lucozade. It's not recommended before a gig.
That is fantastic. Milk.
There was nothing of me, so I needed building up. But yes, there were periods where we drank too much before we went on stage, I think. Because again, there's a level, isn't there? I don't really drink before we play now because you get to a certain age and you don't want to fall asleep.
Yeah. Feels like you've had Sunday dinner.
Yeah. Yes. I remember another thing we never did. We never ate before.
No.
Oh, I've got to be. I get quite anxious if I think I'm going to be hungry.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of sort of preemptive eating.
Is there not a level with stand-up? Is there not too much to eat though?
There is, and I am an outlier in this.
Right.
And I have been stared at with amazement in dressing rooms for years because I eating fish and chips at like 5 to 8.
Oh, blimey. Right.
Yeah, but it's what milk. That is absolutely fantastic. That has made my day. Milk. I think a 16-year-old boy would want. I don't know. If you can't have a pint, you'd think he'd want lemonade or Coke or something.
Too much sugar. That's what I found. You see, I just started off with Coke and lemonade, but I can't handle the sugar. Like I say, you just want something neutral.
Because we were. I mean, my band was nowhere near the level of the fall, but we had a no beer rule because even if you have a pint, if something goes wrong, you think, well, at least it wasn't the lager.
Yeah.
And I was in full control. With I remember I was on the piss in Bath.
In the Bath?
As in Bath the city. And I was on the piss in the Bath.
That's a bit
drinking cans in the Bath.
Balls of milk.
And I got a text message from a promoter saying there's a comedy club, and the opening act has just pulled out. Are you around? And I was like, I'm actually in Bath, so I can do the gig. But it was like December the 28th. I'd just been out for Christmas dinner. And I was really, really full. And I said, I can do the show. But I remember walking on stage. I'd finished my meal like 20 minutes before. I remember taking the mic out the stand and going, sorry.
They were fortunate though to find you in Bath.
Yeah, I was like, there's too many Yorkshire puddings on that. Sorry, you don't know what I've been doing.
I'd take issue with you. Yorkshire pudding has no place on a Christmas dinner. Yorkshire
Do you
pudding
think not?
It's with beef. I think that it is a mark of what is wrong with the world now. Have everything with everything.
I think it's such a staple of the Sunday dinner, and the Christmas dinner is really a Sunday dinner on steroids, isn't it?
No, I'm not having it. I'm not having Yorkshire pudding for Christmas dinner. No way. Beef. If you're having beef for your Christmas dinner, fill your boots with Yorkshire pudding if you want. But chicken, my niece, she has chicken with Yorkshire pudding and mint sauce. What's that about? Well, that's not right.
The mint sauce is an odd one there.
That's with lamb.
That's with lamb.
Mint sauce goes with lamb.
Designated. You have lamb, mint sauce,
you
beef,
got that way for a
Yorkshire
reason,
pudding. Yeah. Cranberry sauce. And then we're going to get into bread sauce in a minute. I'm not a big fan of the bread sauce either. I mean, at least that's got a place on a Christmas dinner. I don't like it, but I'm prepared to allow it.
I don't know. I just think that if you're going to the effort of making, of preparing turkey and pigs and blankets and all that kind of stuff, then a Yorkshire pudding has a sort of it's a final flourish, isn't it? It's
what you need, isn't it? There's just not enough on this plate. Move them sprouts out of the way. We need to absorb the
sprouts. I'm not buying sprouts at all.
I like sprouts. I like a sprout. I tell you what, this is taking a turn.
Yeah. This is what being in the fall was like.
Because I would say it wasn't big certainly when I was in the fall, eating wasn't a thing, was it really?
No.
I spent I joined the fall at 16. I think I was hungry.
4 years hungry.
I spent 4 years hungry in the fall, yeah.
It always amazes me whenever I look at pictures of the fall, especially late 70s, early 80s, how thin everyone is.
Oh, no. And thin and inadequately coated as well.
Yeah. Now, this I've been wanting to get off my chest, right, for about 20 years. I look at pictures of...
We were all hungry and freezing.
Yeah, I look at pictures of the fall and I look at pictures of Joy Division, and it's Manchester and it's 1980 or 1979. None of you have got good coats on.
No.
Didn't Joy Division had an overcoat?
It was a Mac. There was no
It was a Mac.
Yeah, there's no warmth in that.
I went to watch...
off that bridge.
I went to watch Swansea play Bury at Gig Lane in 2005 in May. We got promoted that day. It's one of the best days I've ever had watching the Swans. And we drove up from Cardiff, and it was sunny in Cardiff, and I was in just a T-shirt, and my mate who'd studied in Manchester and had lived there for 4 years had a big parka on, and I was laughing at him, and he was laughing at me.
Who won that one?
Yeah, we got to Manchester. It's like,
we went to play what festival was it?
Yeah, the
Wicker Mountain. We played a festival in Scotland, and we drove up to it, and we all got out of the van, and everyone had a coat, and Steve didn't. I never got the memo. It was freezing.
Yeah, I read a thing. It was when Echo and the Bunnymen did their sort of late 90s comeback, and I remember reading a thing. They played Lollapalooza, must have been in America, and it was it's like 36 degrees or something. And Ian McCulloch is wearing like a big classic Echo and the Bunnymen sort of Crocodile Zero overcoat. One of the roadies said, "You're a maniac, man. It's 115 degrees out there." Ian McCulloch's...
Another bit of Echo and the Bunnymen apparel fact, that the cardigan that Kurt Cobain wears on Nirvana Live in New York, the Unplugged.
Yeah.
That was Will's cardigan that he gave it.
Was it?
It was, yeah. There's a fact for you.
That is... I've come out of this podcast with two cracking facts. Milk on the rider. And the roadie was like, "What are you doing, man?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm from Liverpool, so."
You definitely got a career in impersonating post-punk legends.
Yeah.
It might be fairly niche. I'm not sure.
It would be one of those shows, if I do it, Elis impersonates post-punk legends. There'd be 4 people in the audience, but that would be the best night of their lives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you can't do what you can't do. Can you do, Mark? You're not going to attempt it on?
I can. Do you know what? Because you knew him, it sort of it would. I can.
But we're talking
our listeners. I mean, both of our listeners will be thrilled.
I can. During lockdown, I used to do a Mark. I think I'd gone a bit mad. I used to do a Mark impression just to wind up my wife.
I can see how that would wind up.
Yeah,
you're locked together.
I'm like, so yeah,
a couple of hours.
So I would just walk around because obviously we were just in the house. That first bit, you could only leave the house for an hour.
Yeah.
So we are together for 23 hours of the day. And for 21 hours, I was walking around going, I take my last clean, Dennis Cheryl Wardrobe. She was like, please stop. Please stop doing that.
That's good, yeah. That's very much like him. So when you referred to Swansea, then you said the Swans. Are they not the Jacks? Because I was going to say the episode title I was thinking of was Fiery Jack. I thought
they are. Oh, that's a great. Yeah. The Jack is. The Jacks are the Swans. So it can be both. Yeah. So it's the Jack Army, and you shout "you Jack bastard" at our own players, and they love it. You end texts and messages with YJB, "What you Jack bastard," to sort of friends of yours.
Lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
There was a play about. A gang, and they were called the Swan Jacks. Were in that. I don't know if they were from Swansea, possibly.
I don't know. Yeah,
maybe. Really good play about it. But the 2 lads go away for summer, and they end up in this writer's house. But anyway, I digress. So I was going to ask you about, speaking of Welsh bands, which we weren't, Dat Bluggy. Searching you, I went down this rabbit hole into Dat Bluggy. They're amazing, aren't they?
So were you familiar with them before?
No, not at all. I started investigating your life.
I think I might. I wrote a piece about them for The Guardian when Dave died. I might cry if I start talking about Dat Bluggy because they mean...
Is that the right pronunciation, by the way?
Yeah, very, very good, actually. His talent, man.
Yeah, he was. The thing is, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot because it's Welsh, isn't it?
Yeah. So all of the records were in Welsh. And he was probably most often compared to Mark, actually. Yeah, right. And the band, there was the classic lineup. It was 2 of them. It was Dave Edwards and Pat Morgan, who I got to know Dave a little bit. And when was I first given a Dat Bluggy album? I must have been about 17 or 18 as I was doing my A-levels. And I went home and I listened to it. It was like a whole world had opened up, and I couldn't believe that he'd grown up in Aberteifi, which is like 25 miles from where I live, or from where I lived. And he was so clever, and he was so wise, and completely ignored in his time.
Yeah.
So I did a TV show with Pat last year. And we went back to a gig in Stoke Newington. There was a pub gig. And it was a great lineup of Welsh bands. It was like Ectogram, who were a really good group, and then quite like krautrocky, and then Dat Bluggy, and there was someone else. It might have been the Gorkies, actually. But there's like 3 people there or something. and when I went to Dave's funeral, I talked to the singer from Tunnel Tywyll, who were like a sort of Welsh language Smiths. And he would tell me like these lineups where it would be them and, I don't know, a Cyrff who became Catatonia. So Mark Roberts, who wrote all the songs of Catatonia, was in a Cyrff first. And Dat Bluggy, and they would be performing in Carnarvon, and there'd be like 3 people there. And you're thinking, if you liked alternative music in the late 80s, there wouldn't have been a better lineup anyway.
No.
But they were just being ignored, and frustratingly. And he quit the band in about 95 or 96 and then came back, by which point his sort of legend had grown. So I was a little bit too young to see them live the first time. And then they did a little comeback in about 2015. And there was like 500 people there.
Yeah,
brilliant. I'm thinking this is how it should have been.
Yes. Yeah.
In 1988, Peel was a massive fan of Datblygu.
The film. It's funny because he introduces them and he says, and this is a Welsh-speaking band, and then they come on and they got a song called Casserole.
Yeah. Because they ended up on the Tube, and Peel. I think they got between 87 and 93. I think they did 5 sessions for John.
Yeah,
and David, all these postcards that John would write to him. He was and the thing with Dave was he wasn't materialistic in the slightest.
No.
Not at all. Money just didn't. It wasn't part of the equation.
Well, I mean, I think if you had aspirations of being a pop star, you'd have to ditch the Welsh at some point, wouldn't you? If you wanted to make real.
Yeah, I mean that's what because the Gorkies obviously moved to singing in English, and the Furries moved to singing in English, and Catatonia were a sort of the lineup is different, but Mark had made loads of records with a Curve.
Yeah.
And then obviously he met Cerys, and they started off singing in Welsh and then moved to England. Then they all got signed by big labels.
Yeah.
And what was funny was, I suppose, that they'd kind of learnt their trade in Wales, and then they were often, a lot of those groups were on Angst, which was a brilliant label. That's where the Furries started, that's where the Gorky started. And then suddenly, obviously, they were kind of ready for the big time. And I remember seeing the Furries on Jules Holland, but I thought, they'd been on telly a lot in Wales, so it wouldn't have been sort of new to them. That's maybe the scale of it. But with Dave, he was just, each lyric was like this little manifesto. And I would think to myself, this, how is he doing this? Because he's quite prolific as well.
Yes. Well, you do think that. I mean, I do find that with some of Mark's lyrics. You just think, that's not how lyricists. I don't know how he's done this. Some of the songs, even the ones I'm on, which is a bit ridiculous when you start.
Yeah.
What is going on here? That's not how songs even get written, and I don't even know how he even conceives about writing a song like that. It's amazing.
Well, what made me sort of understand Mark a little bit more was when I read that he really loved things like Philip K. Dick and H.P. Lovecraft and Arthur C. Clarke.
Big one as well.
Yeah, and then you read. So I remember I read a lot of books based on sort of Mark's recommendations, and then you're like, oh, okay, but still, I'm not getting to those places from those books that he was.
Well, that's the thing, when you talk about people being influenced, but it's like the banana taped to the wall. I could do that, but you didn't know, did you? I was gonna, just before we move off Datblygu, there was a line from one of his songs, 1 track minds in 48 track studios.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I know. There's loads of that. There's he had a real hatred of the Welsh middle classes, right? They really annoyed him. And
Welsh middle class is different from other middle classes in
well, tend to be state educated,
right?
Because there's no real tradition of private schools in Wales, like there is in Scotland, for instance. But also, I think what happened was what Dave didn't like was because Welsh language media is relatively new. Like SVC didn't exist until 1982, I should say, and then Radio Cymru had started maybe a few years before that, which is the sort of Welsh language radio station. They're like quite new middle class people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But also, it's a small world, and the thing with Mark, because Manchester's big, you can sort of hide in Manchester. Yeah. But Dave lived in Aberteifi, so if you're crazy. There's only 4,000 people living there. So if you criticise these people, you do tend to bump into them. And he just did not give a shit.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And, so he wrote a song called Canu Gymru, which is a song for the Welsh, and he just skewers the Welsh speaking middle class.
Okay.
And it was like, when you hear a song or you read a poem or whatever, and every line makes you sort of want to punch the air. You're like, okay, well, he's got that right, and he's got that right, and that is great. Yeah. Gweithio 1 tan 3 in cynhyrchydd BBC. He works 1 until 3 as a producer for the BBC. But there's just, Yeah, and he can't afford harp lessons for his daughter and all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
Really, really
is it
funny.
all harp then in Wales? And it's not piano lessons, it's all harp, is it?
Do you know what? Obviously a lot of piano lessons, but I hadn't realised how weird it was, how many harpists I knew until I moved to England.
Have we ever met one?
Have we ever met a harpist? No.
Oh, I got 5 in my phone book.
We went when I was in Ireland in a place called Glengareth, and it was one of them where people get up and sing, and then I was talking to my mate about it, and he'd been, because his family from there, and he said, the people come in, someone comes in with a violin, and he said, one night we all sat there, and this woman came in, I'm just going to play, comes in with a full-size harp.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's commitment, that is. I'm just going out for a pint. They get me trolley out.
It's like being a drummer. You've got to have an estate car.
Yeah. I always say that if I come back again, I'm coming back as a penny whistle player next time.
Oh, definitely. Keep it in your pocket.
Yeah, dead right. Yeah. Oh, before we go, I'm conscious of the time. I have to mention the reason my daughter was instrumental in getting you on the show. She's a massive fan of yours. So if you could just say hello to Rosanna.
Hello, Rosanna.
Thank you very much. That sounds like she's 7. She's a 30-year-old primary school teacher.
Hello, Rosanna. Yes, I don't know why I changed my voice there.
Can you tell Elis that I am a big fan and a PCD?
Oh my God. That means podcast devotees. That means she listens to the show I do with John Robbins.
Yes. I've been listening. It's a great show, by the way.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
It's really weird because occasionally I will meet people who I admire and they listen to it. And I don't know who I think I'm talking to. I never think it's members of the Fall, if you know what I mean.
Funnily enough, I'm not surprised that you were I wonder if a member of the Fall is listening.
Yeah. I suppose there's so many members of the Fall. Statistically, it's actually quite likely, isn't it?
Yeah. We don't like them jokes. We don't like jokes about
we don't like
the Fall.
No, sorry. That was the other thing. Was when you're trying to
granny.
When you're trying to work out. When you're trying to work out which sort of where to start with the Fall, you're like, well, there's so many different lineups.
Yeah.
So you don't even you're trying to work out what the classic lineup is, and
that's a thankless task working out what the classic lineup is.
Yeah.
Apart from the one, but present company accepted, obviously. I mean,
of course, yeah.
Yes, but the last lineup of the Fall, that long that lasted 10 years, they were fantastic.
They were great.
Kieran and Pete.
Yeah.
Dave. They were what a fantastic band.
Did they do a 10-year stint?
That's pretty much 10 years, yeah.
That's a decent stint of time, isn't it? Fair play.
Nothing. He did 20.
No, but that is
to keep the same lineup for 10 years. Amazing.
The same band.
Yeah. I think they knew how to deal with Mark by then. I think Mark had mellowed a little bit, and they knew how to. They got the best out of Mark, in as much as he got the best out of them. They got the best.
It's
Yeah, Pete's been telling us some of his techniques.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's really good, yeah. But they kind of. But I think they knew how to stick together and to sort of get the best out of Mark, as I say, without all this nonsense of pulling your mic off or making the gig a bad gig so that you'll all behave yourself next time or anything like that. They kind of moved on from that.
Well, the BBC, right? They send their producers, or they certainly used to, I don't know if they still do, they send their producers on a course on how to talk to presenters, and someone told me the course is called Managing Your Monster.
Well, as we've seen, Greg Wallace, nobody managed him, did they?
Oh my God, he's like
one of those people that, I'm not comparing him to Jimmy Savile or anything, but he's one of those people. Once they have their downfall, everybody goes, Did you like him? Yeah. No, I never liked him.
Yeah, he was a big Millwall hooligan in the 80s.
Yeah. Danny Baker said that yesterday. What's this shop showing that picture of him with his shirt off with the Millwall tattoo? He's giving us in a bad light.
That is so funny. He's a big Fall fan, isn't he, Danny?
Well, yes. He's claimed. Well, he's not his claim to fame. He discovered the Fall. He was the first one to mention them in the press, and he kept mentioning it, and in the end he got a letter off Mark with 5p taped to the letter saying, here's 5p, now stop fucking saying you invented the Fall.
That is so funny.
Didn't he put them in touch with the first label?
Yeah, he did, yes. A Step Forward, which was Mark Perry's label, and Mark Perry's obviously a big mate of Annie Baker, so he got them and said you should sign these.
I remember him, is that lyric, she is in my chest,
Cheers, pointing straight in my chest. That is such a good line, isn't it? Because it's not.
Yeah. I remember reading an interview with Danny Bacon. He said the fact it's shears.
Yeah.
And not like a knife or something else. It just changes it a little bit to make it so much better.
Yeah. I mean, that Frightens is such a great song.
Yeah.
How he captures the whole sort of mood of paranoia and everything. Brilliant. But we're not here to talk about how good Mark was, are we? What do you think this is, a fall pod? So I think we've reached our allotted hour there,
brilliant.
Ellis.
I've had such a good time.
Oh,
me too.
Yeah.
I could talk about the fall.
A nice glass of milk now.
We can eat now.
I could talk about the fall all day. Because the thing with Mark, are you, out of curiosity, the two of you Frank Zappa fans?
I can't stand Frank Zappa.
No.
All Beefheart.
A little bit of Beefheart.
I can't stick Beefheart either.
God, no.
No, but
never got it.
I mean, I think we're in the minority in terms of members of the Fall. They are revered, I think, a bit.
Because I'm with you on Frank Zappa, I must admit. Beefheart I do like.
Yeah.
But with Frank Zappa, like John, who I do the podcast with, is a huge Frank Zappa fan.
Is he?
Massive.
How do you reconcile that with Queen? I would have thought. I mean, I know.
Yeah. It's an odd because also he loves Lou Reed. There is sort of big three and Van Morrison.
Okay.
And Lou Reed and Frank Zappa hated each other.
Yeah, well, Lou Reed hated everybody, didn't he? And Frank Zappa was probably the most welcoming of people either, was it?
But with Frank Zappa, like there's Hot Rats. I must admit, I do like Hot Rats, but so much of his stuff.
For the money is.
Yeah, but so much of it, in my limited experience, seems to be like a parody of a musical genre.
Yeah, I find it all a very smart arse, me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, well, don't take the piss out of doo-wop. You either like doo-wop or you don't. Don't take the piss out of it, because some people love it.
Taking the piss out of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think, well, who are you then?
Yeah. And I always hate that quote about writing about music is like dancing about architecture, which it's not. It's not. Oh, writing about music is like writing about anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That was the other thing. Like the thing with the music press was they used to absolutely hammer some bands.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Like really, really skewer some groups. And I used to think to myself, imagine reading that.
Yeah.
Like your press person has said to you, "Oh, I've got you. I think you're in this week's Melody Maker. You go down to the shop to buy it. This album, 2 out of 10. It must have been horrific."
I tell you what. Speaking of Danny Baker, I read an interview he did with Ringo Starr in like 1980 something. Ringo had a new album out, and he basically just rips Ringo to bits. The whole article in a way you would never ever get now.
Yeah.
It's like sort of saying this new album's shite and we've all moved on from the Beatles. I'm thinking it's like nobody would write this now. Certainly not about a Beatle.
And also he wouldn't think that now.
No, he wouldn't think that. No, he wouldn't. I mean, the music press wouldn't countenance such an encounter, would they? It just wouldn't happen.
Well, I read David Hepworth's last book.
Yeah.
And he was writing about Live Aid.
Yeah.
And he was one of the presenters of Live Aid. Yeah. And he just pointed out how many things have changed. So it's this sort of live simulcast in London and Philadelphia. They're getting Phil Collins from London to Philadelphia. He's playing at both gigs on Concorde. The whole thing organised without a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It is.
All of the, 100,000 people or however many it was walking to Wembley that day, not one of them would have had a takeaway coffee. No one would have stopped at Costa.
No. Well, see, there's another one of my bugbears. Drinking hot drinks while you're walking along. You sit down for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in my world. You do not do it walking along.
It's just, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? Yeah.
But you don't need one while you're walking along.
But I did a Kathy Burke's podcast last.
A coffee and a gallon of water.
Yeah.
You can only do it if it's like American coffee, which is like piss as well.
I did Kathy Burke's podcast last week. You're going to have to put an E on this podcast because from what I'm about to say. But she said,
"Go on."
I'd never met her before. She's a lovely woman. But she went, "You are what I would describe as a coffee cunt.
Yes.
Amen.
What had you done to evoke such ire then? Why were you?
I must admit, I quite like the sort of posher end of it.
Ah, right.
And that's, like my mum and dad. My mother told me that she has 3 cups of coffee a year the other day.
A year?
Yeah. Every 4 months.
How do you decide at what point in the year you're going to... Is it like one in May, one in...
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, she said, about 3 a year I have. And my dad doesn't understand.
What kind of coffee?
Oh, Mum would have, like, if she was out with friends and, I don't know, she would have a milky coffee is what she'd ask for.
Yeah.
But, like, I quite the sort of higher end stuff, and that's what Kathy said. And it really relaxed me because I thought, well, she's going to say that in the first quarter of an hour. We're going to have a good time. It was such a funny thing to say.
Right, well, we've not been as ungenerous with our...
Absolutely not, no. I was... I can't remember what point I was going to make about Live Aid, but yeah, sort of...
However much things have changed.
It's just none of it organised with a mobile phone, and even when stuff was going wrong, how would you communicate that?
I don't know. I mean, even from the people in the gantry to the... How did people go on? They can't have all had walkie-talkie. I suppose they must have done, but...
I suppose it must have been a walkie-talkie... Yeah, a walkie-talkie scenario.
There was a bit in the middle where they were going Philadelphia, then London, then Philadelphia. How did you communicate that? You're running 5 minutes over. Can you tell?
I mean, I found organising the wedding hard enough. And I must admit, I stepped back a little bit from that.
Yeah.
Organising Live Aid without a mobile phone. No, thank you.
You were only 4, were you, when Live Aid was on?
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, that was the point I was going to make. McCartney plays.
Yeah.
McCartney is, I think, 42.
Yeah.
I think 42. And he is brought on. So it's that 9 years, June 85. So they split up 15 years previously.
Yeah.
And he is brought on and treated like you would treat a sort of a relic that you'd found from ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
The idea that he could still be relevant at 42, which is younger than I am.
Yeah.
Is
considerably younger than I am.
Yeah, but it's just mad.
Yeah.
Because there was no heritage rock sort of culture or heritage rock scene.
About the Ringo Starr interview, just the idea that you would speak in any way irreverently about a Beatle.
Yeah, he's just a 40-year-old bloke at that point. Yeah, he's a 40-year-old drummer.
I mean, the album wasn't great, but that's not how.
No, but
Well, he's Ringo Starr, isn't it? Never mind Johnny fucking Marr, he's Ringo fucking Starr.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, the reverence for the past. I don't know when that started, really, because
I reckon that was the CD, because a lot of albums were getting reissued on CD.
Also, yeah,
and people were buying them twice. That's you've got that.
Move that was. All them albums you've got, but it's a new format. You can buy them all again. And then you throw your albums away. Oh, it's coming back now, vinyl. You can start buying them all. They're not daft, these record companies.
I know. But again, it was seen as a disposable throwaway culture. Like if you watch Get Back, they're playing like 50s rock and roll standards that are 12 years old. Yeah. And they're sort of laughing. They're like, oh yeah, but it's 12 years old, isn't it?
If you watch Get Back, I must have seen Get Back 7 times.
Oh, water eyes!
Have you seen the bit 64 yet? Have you watched that yet?
I haven't watched that yet, actually.
Well, I'm only halfway through. I'm trying to ration it because I don't like to rush through these things all in one go because I might forget.
I mean, Get Back. I will often pause it because there'll be a picture of a cornflakes box or something in the background. And I'll pause it and be like, God, look at that cornflakes box.
The teacups as well. You all came up online. You can buy the drinking tea.
Yeah.
Nice little teacups.
And the ginger lad in the Fred Perry top who's always bringing tea in for them.
And I tell you what, you want to look at. Jeff Emmerich has got to be the most stylish man I've ever laid. The engineer. He comes in some outfits. You think, my God.
Yeah. He left the house looking at that.
Yeah.
And it was the 60s. Like,
yeah, I know. Because when you, it's really weird. You watch the Beatles and it's like, wow, that looks so long ago. But when they go down on the street, it's like everyone else is in. You could be walking around now because they're all in like straight pants and shirts.
Yeah. And very smart. Like they've all got all the men are wearing shirts and ties and
all that's half of them as well.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that I always think when I watch it. you've got the Beatles up on the roof, and they're the biggest band in the world at that point by miles. And you've got somebody, I think it's a bit off this. I can't trying to sell tea cakes in this shop. It's a bit off that they're interrupting. It's the fucking Beatles.
Well, you've got to think about whether it's affecting trade and business in the area. I mean, it's just let it go. It's an afternoon.
It's Friday afternoon. What else are you going to be doing?
Come on. Who's going to Savile Row to get a tailored suit now?
Hey, speaking of Savile Row, tailored suit, before I go, when the Beatles got the mantra, John Cooper Clarke told me a joke before we did the podcast with him, and I make the opportunity to tell this joke everywhere I go because John Cooper Clarke told me this joke.
Okay.
So, 1963, this guy, he sees the Beatles on Granada, and they're in the Pierre Cardin suits, and he thinks that's the best thing I've ever seen. So he goes to Savile Row, he goes into a tailor, and he says, "I want the suit, please." He says, "Yeah, certainly, sir. Yeah, no problem." He says, "I've just seen the Beatles on TV, so I want a suit, no collar. Don't want a collar, straight down. Don't want any pockets on the jacket, straight down. No vent in the back, can't be having that. Trousers, I don't want pockets on the trousers either. Straight down, no turn up. How much is that going to cost me?" And he says, "Well, a suit like that normally costs you £10, but with all those extras..."
John Cooper Clarke tells it better.
He tells it better, yes.
Did you read the piece about him in The Guardian about how tech phobic he is?
Yes, that's what he said. Yeah, I'd love of course I'd have a computer, but I'd never leave the house. I'd be sat watching the Marx Brothers at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't have one, it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
They didn't have a phone.
No, my wife hates tech, and I showed her that article, and she's like, "He is living my dream."
Yes, but it's like Mark used to do
He's
that.
got a manager, though,
Mark E. Smith used to say that. He doesn't have a pop. I mean, he deliberately hated it that much that he deliberately misnamed it. He used to call mobile phone a portaphone. He made up a word just so he could show how much contempt he held in. Look, his life wouldn't have worked unless someone near him
next to him.
Yeah, you've got to. Yeah, someone's got to.
Proxy, isn't it?
Someone has got to be looking after you if you're gonna. If you're not gonna have a mobile, all that kind of stuff.
Right, sir. At that point, we're going to have to call it a day.
I've had a brilliant time, gents. I really appreciate that.
Oh, we've not even mentioned. You've not mentioned your tour. You're playing the Apollo 12th of September.
Yes, we are. Bloody hell, that's a big old room.
It is a big room.
Crikey.
Yeah, well, it's not alone. It's a big tour, that, isn't it?
It is. We are. Yeah. Oh my God, the idea that Fall fans could be coming along because they've heard me on this podcast absolutely fills me with joy.
That will really fill the coffers, that will. All the Fall fans who've now heard it.
50,000 of them.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's an amazing phenomenon, that sort of live podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the mad thing as well is when I was growing up, I loved music, I loved comedy and football as well. But, you know, in terms of what I could do, because obviously I was a shit footballer, I wanted to be a comedian. Yeah. I wanted to be in sitcoms and do stand-up. But obviously podcasts didn't exist.
Yeah.
So now I'm, we're doing the Apollo, and it's kind of, it's a thing that I wasn't doing it until 2014. I was in my mid-30s by the time I was first on a podcast.
Yeah.
So it is incredible how it's changed comedy.
Everything, hasn't it? Yeah.
And also because no one is telling you can't do it. So that's the thing. You don't have to persuade a commissioner. You just record it yourself, and it's a very democratic sort of art form, I think. So I'm very grateful to it as a medium.
Yes. Yeah,
me too. Us too. Yes.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get to talk to you otherwise.
No.
Right. And on that bombshell, thank you very much, Elis. That was wonderful, and
brilliant.
I hope the tour goes great, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, boys. I really. Sorry, I said boys. That's a very Welsh thing, and I'm not. I don't think you're under the age of 10.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Old Brother. You can find all our previous episodes on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. But we're hosted at shows.acast.com/old-brother. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like. Tell your friends about us. Episodes are released every second Friday, so watch for the next episode in 2 weeks. See you next time, and remember, if you're driving, take your car. Ta-ra.